Hi guys, thanks for watching. Today we're going to be talking about the differences between powders and cream products. And so my face is already washed, moisturized, and primed, and if you don't know why you should do that, I'm going to link the video where I talk about why you should do that below. Literally, like, stop this video, go watch that one, and then come back, because I'm not playing about that stuff. But today we have some cream contour and highlight stuff, as well as some powders, and we're going to talk about sort of the benefits of each. So I'm going to start off with my cream palette. As you can see, a lot of these shades don't work for me, so I don't use them at all. But I do use the contour shades quite a bit, and I have used a little bit of some of the highlight shades. One of the nice things about cream products is you can put them over your foundation before you powder it down and blend them into your foundation. One of the other nice things about a cream product is you can get a much more precise line with a cream than you can with a powder. And the reason for that is that it will adhere the brush together and allow you to make a more uniform shape. So this is just sort of what a line of cream product looks like. And I thought I had my beauty blender out here, but I guess I don't. So I'm just going to blend that in with my finger. Now, creams do tend to be much more highly pigmented than powders. So you are going to typically retain most of the color you see in the palette. So like you can see, this is, I think, the middle one. And that's pretty much the same exact color. And I can go in and I can make it darker. Oh no, maybe I did use the darkest color. And creams tend to build very well. One of the cons about this is that it is going to be wet. And when we're working in LARP, we typically don't want to leave our makeup wet. We want to dry it down. So I am going to have to follow this up with a powder. So that's sort of a pain. And if you're going for a subtle look, I wouldn't bother. In all honesty, I just wouldn't, because if you're going to have to do a powder over it anyway, just start with the powder, and that will be more subtle anyway. So that is what a cream contour does. And I don't have it where I usually contour, because I want you to be able to see it a little bit better. But you can see that it does blend out okay, but it's really going to stay in that area. I can't move it around the face as much, and it is going to be pretty opaque. It's going to be very hard to sheer out. So in contrast to that, I'm going to use my Super Ghetto palette. I'm going to work with a powder. And one of the first things you'll see is that powders tend to fade out as you're working with them. They tend to go on much more sheer, and they tend to sheer out more easily than a cream. So over here, I'm pretty much as thick as I was before. But over here, as I start to work over this back and forth, I'm getting a lot more movement out of it, and it's not really sticking as much. So I can almost completely get rid of the line I put down. That can definitely be a good thing. I suggest powders if you're a beginner, because they're a lot easier to work with. So I'll just go in and then make another line so you can see. And this one I won't rub out quite so much, but you will sort of get a sense. Powders are a little easier to blur the edges for, so they're going to give you a much more natural effect overall in terms of blending. Now, one of the ways around that is actually to apply powder with a wet brush. And what that's going to do is actually sort of give the powder some cream-like qualities, including that it's going to really stick with that color. So I'm just going to wet my brush a little bit. Actually, no, not yet. Yeah, why not? Alright, so this is with a wet brush, same exact product, literally identical. And you can see that's much darker. When I go to blend it, I'm getting much less movement out of it because it's behaving more like the cream. So that's sort of an example with contour shades. But one of the things most people use both creams and powders for is highlight. And one of the things I want to talk about is using these two products in conjunction with each other, using them together. So the rules with powder and cream. Always, 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 you want your products to go from liquid to cream to powder. So if you're wearing a liquid foundation, you can put creams over that, or you can put liquids over that, or you can put powders over that. If you're working with a cream product, you can't put liquids over it. You can put other creams over it, or you can put a powder over it. If you're working with a powder foundation, or if you've already powdered your face, you cannot put liquids or creams over that. It's going to make it bunchy, it's going to make it super weird. And I'll show you some examples. So we're going to start with some liquid. I'm just going to pop this. Where do I have some space? Or rather, this is a cream product. And I'm just going to pop it on my arm. I'm going to give myself a couple of lines. Alright, so those are my three creams. And now, I'm going to take my powder, dry. I'm going to just dot it over this one in the middle. I don't even need to use brush for this. I can literally put it on with my finger, and it's going to stick almost entirely to where I put down that cream. And immediately it's going to start soaking up some of the oils. So you can see if I go up here, I'm going to get some smudging, whereas if I go here, not nearly as much. I can't really get a whole lot of like a good smudge off of it the same way I can like this one. This one is just not going to do that for me. And that's because I've set it. The powder has soaked up a lot of the liquid. Now, if I don't like this, I can add another cream to it, and that's not going to affect it. So, for example, if I go, oh, that's way too dark, I can go in with another cream product, and that'll mix very well. And see how this one is now much lighter than the other two. And this one will continue to blend out very easily as opposed to the one with the powder over it. Now going the other direction, I'm just going to take my finger, I'm going to give myself a couple of lines of powder. And the nice thing about powder on its own really is how soft and blendable it is. It's more sheer, super easy to work with, or you can wet it and just place it where you want it and it'll look fantastic, but you do want to build up powders typically. So you want to go over and you want to reapply them in the same spots if you really want them to look dark. So now that I have my powders on, you can see this one is soft and blendable and powdery and amazing. But let's go ahead and throw a cream product over one of these. And let's just use this guy. So if I throw a cream over this, and I'm going to try to get you as close as possible. One of the first things you're going to notice is it isn't really going to go anywhere. You aren't really going to be able to get a whole lot of it without piling on a ton of product. And then even when it does, when I've really loaded up the brush with this, it's not going to be super easy to work with. I'm going to get a lot of patchiness, and I'm not going to get a very consistent color. Like over here, where I mixed the cream with the cream, it's very consistent, it's all the same color. Over here, I'm getting a lot of like jagged edges, and that's because the powder underneath is soaking up from underneath that cream. So, now if I try to set this with the powder, now I've got too much powder, and nothing looks good. Always, 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 you want to go liquid, cream, powder. And that's the whole point of this video. For things like regular old contour, regular old highlight, I would suggest using a powder if you really want to make it a look. And like you want to do a highlight, you want it to be blinding, you want people to see that metallic white from across the goddamn room. Here's what you do. We're going to start with a cream product. Because remember, powder sits great on top of cream. And we're just going to stick this where we want it. Let's say I want to have a very metallic nose. I'm just going to stick my cream where I want my powder to stick. And now I can go in with my metallic white powder, and I can pat that on. And because it has something to stick to, it's not really going to go a whole bunch of places, so it's not going to fall out all over my outfit like it would if I was putting it on its own. But I am going to get a lot of that color. And so for comparison, the white just on its own looks like that. Not at all blended. But if I stack it on top of the white, I am the shiniest unicorn. It's a little hard to see on camera. I'm just figuring that out now. But literally, like my nose is, first of all, completely set. Like I can run my hand along it, and I'm not looking crazy. I'm not pulling up a whole ton of product on my hands because it's set. But also, I am so shiny now. And that's because that powder had something to stick to. It had something that was keeping it wet. Now, if I decided I didn't like the white, because powder still can go over powder and it can go over cream, I could follow that up with another powder. So if I said, overdid it a little bit, just a little bit, maybe I want to tone that down and go for more of a Rudolph-y look. I could go in with like a red powder. And this is going to stick very well because there's still some cream in there. And because powder is fine over powder, it's not going to look crazy. So I can totally go over where I had it white and just fix it. And now I am a shiny, metallic, goldy sort of thing. And I didn't have to completely redo my makeup. So that is a very good reason to set your liquids, because then it's going to give you more ability to go in and sort of cover stuff back up. Whereas the first thing we put down stuck right away. This I can sort of buff around, I can go over it, I can change the color, and powder sticks to powder so well, so it's fine. But yeah, so that is the difference between cream and powder. And now that I look like a crazy person, I'm going to sign off for the day and totally take off all of this makeup. Happy makeup, and have a great day.